Good morning and welcome to another Fast Tracks webinar. This is a weekly event we do every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we cover different topics of the Fast Track software. You can sign up for these events and see all the upcoming events if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose the FTx Lifeline link, scroll down about halfway down the page, and look for that webinar hyperlink, choose that. And then this page will give you the option to subscribe for upcoming webinars via our newsletter, show a list of all of our previous webinars where you can view the past recordings, and then also see all the upcoming webinars and register for those. This week, we're going to be looking at creating and utilizing buydowns. Now, everyone in the tobacco industry is going to be very familiar with how buydowns work, and that's basically a way for manufacturers to refund you part of your tobacco, whether it be loose tobacco or cigarettes. They're refunding at the end of a quarter a value. You can create your buydowns in Director, and the POS automatically handles that. So first and foremost, whenever you're in your price book, your items that you have that you're going to be applying to a buydown, it's very important to make sure that the cost and the price do not have that buydown factored in. On this item details page, this cost and this price needs to be before any kind of buydown is applied. The reason being is whenever you create the buydown, the system is going to automatically handle that cost reduction and the price reduction at the time of the sale. So just remember that that's a very important point. Now, building the buydowns is a very simple process. You would simply choose the Buydowns tab, and that brings you to the buydown page. To build the new buydown, you just simply choose the Create New button. Make sure that it's set to a buydown, which it is by default. There's an option for a promo, which we'll go over here in a bit. Give your buydown a name. If you would like a receipt, your receipt to show any kind of text, go ahead and input any kind of text you'd like for that receipt to show. If you want to group your buydowns, you can input a group. That way you can filter easily at the top of the screen. If you already got groups input, you can see what groups are already available. Choose the style of buydowns, choose whether it's going to be a date range. Basically what that is in between two different time frames, your start date and your end date. All items assigned to this buydown will receive that buydown applied at the transaction level. The quantity-based buydown, that's where only a certain number of buydowns will be applied to a specific number of items. Doesn't matter the time frame. All that matters is this number here. If you put 25, then the first 25 of an item sold within that buydown, that 25 is the only 25 that's going to have that buydown applied. Then there's the combination. That is in between your start date and your end date. Apply the buydown only with this number of times that value. Then there's the part of carton option, which we'll go over here in just a bit. That is where you input a part of carton value on the item itself. You have an option for the amount. That's the buydown amount, the buydown value, so how much of that cost and how much of that price is going to be reduced. You then have to input a manufacturer. If this buydown needs to be accounted for in an accounting export, such as a QuickBooks export, input the account number, enter your start date, your end date, and then if this buydown needs to show in a retail scan data report, whether that be the Philip Morris, RJ Reynolds, or ITG, make sure that's checked if that needs to be checked. And then the name in the retail report. This is specific to the ITG and the RJ Reynolds scan data report. They want buydowns to be named specific things. Your representative will get with you and tell you what they want the buydowns to be named, and this is where you input that name. This name would be what shows up in your reports. This name what shows up in the scan data reports. Next, you would choose what stores are applied. You can check those individually or check by zone. And when you're done, you would choose the Save button. And I've already got a buydown here built. that we're going to look at, a Marlboro carton and a Marlboro pack. Now there's different ways to add items to your Buydowns. On the item details screen, if we search for an item, we can see that there's a Buydowns area in the general information section of the item details screen. You can choose this Manage Buydowns hyperlink, and this allows you to add items to Buydowns via the dropdown, remove from the selected Buydowns at the top, and then also the ability to show archive Buydowns. So if this item is in archive Buydowns, show those archive Buydowns that this item is a part of. The next way is adding via mass updates. Whenever you load into mass updates, you of course want to filter, and as we discussed in the mass updates webinar, which if you've not watched that, I highly recommend you watch that, you always want to pay attention to what the number of items is at the top of the screen. So if I filter to my Marlboros, like I sort by description, I go to my Marlboro products, I'm wanting to add these to the Marlboro Buydown. Just because I highlight these and then I go to my area where I add Buydowns, which is under Utilities, doesn't mean that it's going to add just those selected items. You make sure you always filter. So whether if I'm selecting, I want to right click and filter based on selection, or better yet, just use your tree information. So in this case, I know my cartons, they're going to be under SIG full price carton, Philip Morris, and Marlboro. And there's all of my Marlboro cartons. Then I can navigate to the Utilities tab. I can choose the Buydown I wish to add them to, and then choose the Add button. If I need to mass remove items from the Buydown, then I can go to the Additional Utilities area, and there's an option to remove from Buydowns here. I can remove from an individual Buydown, this Marlboro carton, or if it's in multiple Buydowns, I can remove from all Buydowns at the click of a button. The final way to add items to Buydowns is on the Buydown screen. I can choose the Manage Items in Buydown. That will bring up a new window. And this is similar to mass updates. It's really just meant for Buydowns and only Buydowns. So this will load up. We'll choose which Buydown we want to add items to. And then you can see in this selected Buydown, I have these items already added. I can filter by department, or I can go by my tree view. My Carton, Philip Morris, Marlboro, there they are. These are actually already in my Buydown already, but I could choose Add All Items, which would add everything in this filter. I can add the selected items, or I can add items starting with a specific name. And I can also filter by UPC or description. So whichever way you want to add items to Buydowns, there's no wrong way to do that. This way, using the Buydown screen and mass updates is by far more efficient than the item detail screen, just because you can mass manage Buydowns. So we talked about filtering Buydowns. You can see that I've got these two Buydowns, my Marlboro carton and my pack. I've got those in a Marlboro group. I've got my promo in a promo group and a Winston Buydown in the Winston group. I can filter based on what I want to see in this grid, and it filters to exactly what I need. So that's a benefit of using Buydown groups. If you have a lot of stores in a lot of different states, of course, there's a lot of varying Buydowns. So getting to what you want, you could make a Buydown group by product group. You can make it by state. Options are really endless. All right, so notice I've got two Buydowns here for my Marlboros. I've got a carton Buydown and I've got a pack Buydown. This is one way to manage your Buydowns. You have two separate Buydowns, one for your carton level, one for your pack. I've got just my cartons in the carton Buydown and just my packs in the pack Buydown. If we look in the grid here, we can see there's my UPC, my description. There's the buy down amount, $1, as we can see here. There's the dollar. There's the price before the buy down is applied, and there's the price after the buy down is applied. Same can be said for the carton. UPC, description, there's the buy down value, there's the price, and there's the sale price. So let's look at how this looks on the point of sale whenever we ring these up. We'll open the point of sale up, and then we'll log in. And I'm going to ring up the carton first. So there's the price. It's $100.30 in the price book. But whenever I ring it up and go back to my agent verification, notice it rings up for $90.30. The buy down's been applied. We can see right there that the buy down's applied, and it reduced that price at the time of it being scanned into the point of sale by $10. I can subtotal that out and then cash the sale out. Now remember, buy downs will reduce both your retail price and your cost. So whenever you're looking at your reports, you'll have two different values. You'll have your net cost and your net price, and then your adjusted cost and your adjusted price. The net is going to be before your buy down is applied, and the adjusted is going to be after your buy down is applied. Now, if we want to do a return, we can do a return very easily. I can do a return by receipt, so I'm going to look, that receipt number is 41, so I can do a return against receipt number 41. There's that item, there's the price that it rung up for. We're returning that. Buy down's been applied. So I'm not returning it for more than the customer purchased it for. Also on my report, if I'm utilizing my buy down reports, which I hope you would be, whenever you do a sale, it's going to log that there was one item sold in that buy down in that time frame. Whenever you do a return, it's going to reduce that. So your sales report is going to be accurate. It's going to count both your sales and your returns. Let's do a pack. The regular retail price is $10.03. It rings at $9.03. That $1 buy down for the pack has been applied. We'll go ahead and cash that out. Now I'm going to return this without a receipt number. Let's say the customer doesn't have a receipt. We do the item return. We're going to do a manual item return instead of doing the receipt number. I'm going to scan that item. The buy down is still applied. So everything is perfectly fine. So on my sales report, I'd really have a net 0 sold because I sold 1 carton, 1 pack, and then I returned 1 carton and 1 pack. Just so we have some data, I'm going to go ahead and sell 1 more carton. So that's how you can manage your buy downs at the pack and the carton level, 2 separate buy downs. Now there's another way to do buy downs, and that's called the part of carton. Notice this Winston buy down I have here, I have the checkbox set for part of carton. Let's look at how this is set up in the price book. So here we can see in this other information area, I have a part of carton value set. For the pack, I have 0.1 because it's going to be 1/10 of a carton. And on the carton, I have the value set for 1.0. It's a whole carton. It's 1.0. So if we look at the buy down, notice I've got the buy down value set to $10, and I have both the carton and the pack in this buy down. If we look in the grid, we can see that on the carton, the buy down is worth $10. On the pack, the buy down is worth $1. There is, of course, our price before the buy down is applied, and there's our price after the buy down is applied. Why is that? Well, basically, it's math. You have your 1.0 on your carton, your 0.1 on your pack. When you're looking at the buy down and this checkbox is checked, it's going to multiply the amount times that part of carton value. 1 for the carton times $10 is, of course, $10. 0.1 times $10 for the pack is $1. This way, you can have one single buy down and manage only that buy down without having to manage two separate buy downs. There's no wrong way to do that. You can do it either way, and the system's going to handle it perfectly fine. So let's ring an item up and see how this would work. I'm going to do the carton first. So there's the Winston carton. It rings up for $90.75. That's correct. I'll cash that out. Then we'll ring up the pack. $9.03. It rang up perfectly fine and applied that $1 buy down. So we can see that we can have one buy down and have both the packs and the cartons assigned to that by utilizing the part of carton option. I'll cash this out, and I'm going to get a prompt for my uplift. If you've not seen the uplift webinar, I highly recommend you watch that. It's a great, fantastic way of offering additional, making sure your customers know of additional sales and potential opportunities for promotions that they can be a part of. I'm going to cash that out. So that's the two ways of doing buy downs. Now, there's a couple rules with buy downs. On your items, you can only have one buy down. You can have multiple items applied to an item, but the buy down, only one of those can be active at a time. So for example, I couldn't have another Winston buy down and have my Winstons a part of that buy down and it have the exact same start date and end date. The system does not allow for that. You have to have separate buy downs and for separate time frames. So if you're planning on having multiple buy downs, if you have multiple buy downs for the same item, you really need to add those up to a sum, so you're only having one buy down active at a time, and those items attached to that one buy down that's active. So to repeat that, remember, you can have an item in as many buy downs as you need, but only one of those buy downs can be active at a time. So let's say that you have going over some best practices. Let's say that you have this buy down here. Let's look at our two Marlboros. And that's active until the end of this year. Let's say that next year we know that this buy down value is going to change. We'll have two options, and one of these options is the better route to take. I can, when next year rolls around at midnight, I can change this value here to whatever that new buy down amount is going to be, and then the system will handle that new buy down value perfectly fine. But that can mess with your historical reporting. That's not the best way to handle this. You really would want to copy this buy down. There's a button down here for copy. We can name this something different. We can change the dates. So I can say like 1 of 2020. And I can put in my new value here. And I can save that. Now I have two buy downs. One is active, one is not. The same items are a part of it. That's perfectly fine because they're not active simultaneously. The reason this is a better practice to do is because whenever you're running your buy downs reporting, you would want to have separate buy down names because they're separate values. You wouldn't want to just change the value of one because that can mess with your historical reporting. Once this buy down is expired, you can simply choose the archive buy down button. When you archive it, it doesn't delete it from the system. You can still run reports on that. It just basically hides it from your view. You won't see the item here in your managed buy downs on the item details, and you also won't see it here in your buy down grid. It's going to be living in this archive buy downs button. And we can see I've got a Winston part of Carton buy down here. That was from last year. From this screen, I can delete that buy down, which I don't recommend you do. If you ever want to run reports on that, you want to keep that in place. And you can also reactivate it. So that's how you can copy buy downs and best practices on managing multiple buy downs for the same item. Just remember, you can have as many buy downs attached to an item as you want, but not simultaneously in the same time frame. So the next area we can look at is the mass updates for buy downs. There's actually a gearhead down here that lets you mass change buy downs. This is a cool ability that I've seen not used as much as it should be used. If you choose this, let's say that my two Marlboro pack and my Marlboro Carton and my Marlboro pack buy downs, they're going to be the exact same value next year. Well, instead of creating a new buy down, I can really just, since it's the same value and the same items, I can really just extend the date range out. Now, of course, I can do that one by one just by changing the end date, but at that point, you're doing it one by one. You're changing one, choosing save, clicking on the next one, changing the value, choosing save. It's easier just to use this mass update for buy downs. I can simply choose the update checkbox that I want to change these to, and then I can change the date range to a whole new date range. So I can have it from 7/1 of 2018, and I can have that end on 12/31 of 2020. And when I choose update selected buy downs, that will then update that date range. So I'm doing all those changes in one click rather than going and doing them separately. You can also extend the date range. I can extend that date range by 365 days, and that will effectively do the same thing. You also have the ability to, if you want to, reuse the same buy downs and change those values. You can change the buy down amount to a flat value, so I can change the values like here on this one to a, let's say I want to change my Carton and my Winston part of Carton to $12. I can change both the buy down amounts on these at the same time with one click. Or if I wanted to decrease them or increase the amount, I can increase that by $2, and that would do the same thing. That would up that value from 10 to 12. Then you can also archive. So if I wanted to get rid of all these buy downs, I can simply choose the archive buy down, and that will then archive all those buy downs in one click. It's much more effective doing this by mass than one at a time. All right, so the next area you can look at is the printing option. You have the ability to print a summary report, which that's going to basically give you a list of all your buy downs, the amount, the time frame, and the manufacturer. And if you don't choose the summary option, it's going to print out all your buy downs and what items are a part of those buy downs. Okay, so the next area we're going to look at is the promotions. This is handled a bit differently than a buy down. Now remember, a buy down, that reduces both your cost and your price. A promotion, it reduces just the price. It does not adjust the cost in any way. So I've got a promotion set here. I'm going to set this to a date range one. I'm going to have that update. Notice I've got a Jewel starter kit here, and I've got the promotion value set for $250. We're going to ring this item up and see how the promotion handles it. There's my Jewel items, and there's my basic starter kit. $30.49, and if we look here, the original price was $32.99, so it reduced that retail price by $250. It did not reduce the cost by $250 though. So when we look at this item, we can see the cost was $22. That $250 is not going to come off of the cost, just the price. So that's effectively going to lower your margin. Now, promotions you can have applied at the same time as a buy down. You can't have two promotions that follows the same rules as a buy down. You can't have a promotion, an item attached to two different promotions at the same time for the same time frame. But you can have an item attached to as many promotions as you need, as long as they're not simultaneously applied at the same time. You can have a buy down and a promotion stack if need be. So we're now going to look at the reports area. You can view all of your buy-down reports by going to the Reports module, go into your sales reports, and then your buy-down sales report. You can filter by your manufacturers, and you can do it based on sales data or invoice data. So if I do based on my sales data, of course, I'm going to see buy-downs that were done today, in today's time frame. I'll see the total sum, and then I can see the individual transactions. If I do it based on my invoice data, then this is not going to be based on sales. It's going to be based on what I purchased from my vendor. So if I'm purchasing items from my vendor that is on a buy-down, and I run this report, I can see that today I purchased from my vendor 5 cartons, 5 items that are a part of this Winston Carton buy-down. If I show details, then of course I can see the data on that. There's that Winston Carton, and I purchased 5 of those. Okay, so that covers buy-down usage. That covers the building aspect, assigning items to it, the rules, and the reporting. I hope everybody learned something today and how to use buy-downs in the best way. Remember, we have these webinars every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can navigate to these if you can see what's upcoming. If you go to the GoFTx website, choose the Fast Tracks Lifeline tab, scroll down about halfway down the page to the webinar hyperlink. Choose that link, and this will allow you to sign up for the newsletter to see upcoming webinars, as well as see all the previous webinars we've done and view the recording and see the upcoming webinars at the bottom of the page. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you next week. Have a great weekend.